All right, welcome everyone. This is the 17th episode of the Do No Evil, Speak No Evil show, where I interview awesome people making a positive local impact. I'm your host, Blair Neher, aka the Chief Primate, and I've got Jay Smack with me today.
Thanks, Blair. Yeah, this is also kind of a combo podcast with the Well and Good podcast, which is a new podcast that I have that we're producing here at Red Amp Studios. And it's very similar to exactly what you're doing. I might focus a little bit more on wellness practices and health and nutrition and stuff like that, and then also focus on nonprofits and charities. But this is sort of a studio takeover where I feel like more like I'm your guest today. So you're in charge, man. You're on the bridge.
Yeah, this is something completely new that we're trying today, so it's pretty cool. And so our guest today is Honestly Liller. Honesty is the CEO of the McShin Foundation and has quite the recovery story herself. So thank you so much for being the guest today, Honesty.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
And so today our host is, and the reason why we're here is we are out of a space, and our space today is at the Red Amp Studio. So I'll let Jay say a little bit about Red Amp as our host today.
Yeah, in addition to the Well and Good podcast and my other podcast called Studio B, which is local music, we are offering podcast production services for businesses, individuals, anybody who wants to get into it. If they have questions, they don't have facilities, they don't have equipment, they don't know how to get it up onto iTunes or out into the world, we help them, and the response has been great. I had planned on having Honesty on as a guest as well, on the Well and Good podcast, so we're happy here at Red Amp to be able to provide a space for you, Blair, and at the Do No Evil, Speak No Evil podcast. So this is really cool.
I appreciate it, everybody. So let's get started. So first, I always like to get right into people's story. So you have a version of life which is neither easy or calm, and you are also brutally honest. So have at it. Let's hear it.
Sure. So I am Honestly Liller, and I'm a woman in long-term recovery from a substance use disorder. What that means to me is I have not used drugs and alcohol for over 11 and a half years now. So real quick, my story, I guess, is a lot like people that are around me every single day. I'm from Hanover County, born and raised in a family with two sisters and parents. It was a little bit of a dysfunctional family, to be honest with you. My mom had her own, mental illness, and kind of my father and her it was a mess for a long time. And I got to do whatever I wanted to do at a very young age. I was 12 years old when I first started using drugs. I was smoking weed. I was a little hippie chick and went to fish shows and, just kind of traveled a little, with my so-called friends, and started doing LSD and shrooms and drinking. At the age of 12, 13, 14, 15, all of those years, I thought weed, came from the earth and we should be allowed to smoke it because it's a plant and it's not like really chemically made. It's just, peace and love. I was a super little hippie chick. And, I went to high school in Hanover. I got good grades. I got a job when I turned 15. I got a worker's permit to support my drug habit. My parents didn't have much money. My mom didn't work, and my daddy, I got a little Hanover twang. My daddy,
I hear it.
Yeah, my daddy had 3 jobs. Ultimately, he had another family, we found out later, which is cool because I love my brothers. I got 2 brothers out of that. So just at a young age, I kind of got to do whatever I wanted to do. I hung out with all older people, and practically stayed at my best friend's house a lot of my teenage years. So, and her daddy worked at night at Nabisco, so that was kind of the party house where everyone came to because there was no parental unit in the home. So when I was 15, I started smoking crack and selling cocaine. And that didn't last very long, probably about a year or so, because I found heroin. So when I was 17, I'll never forget this day, and I don't know how because it was like 100 years ago, I smoked a blunt with crack in it. We called it a jum back then. I don't know what it's called now. And my friend told me, to do heroin so you don't, because so when you do smoke crack or do cocaine, they're uppers. So in order for me to come down and not geek is what we call it, was to do heroin. Why not? That's smart. Instead of just stop using, why not switch to another drug? And I swore I'd never do heroin. I already had 2 friends that had overdosed and died when I was 17 and gone to their funerals and went through that. And I just thought I never would do it, but that day I did it. I fell in love with it. I never did another upper again. From the age 17, we were having this party. So I did heroin for a little while, for a few months and stuff, and we were having this party. It was a going away party for one of my girlfriends. She was going to jail, so why not throw a party for her? And so that night I overdosed on heroin. I was taking Jello shots too, and I don't even know what else, to be honest with you. You know, when you overdose, your brain kind of shuts down and you forget a lot of things. But being in that house, everyone was on probation. No one wanted to call 911. This is just a piece of my God story. I went to Friday Cheers that Friday. It was that same day, and I saw a girlfriend of mine that I used to actually like have sleepovers with and didn't do drugs with. And back then beepers were cool, so I had her number in my beeper clip. And she tells me I called her and told her I was dying and to come save my life. And she busted up in the house. She had the address, and she saved my life that day because no one wanted to call 911. The house was full of drugs. The chick that was my friend, you know, she was on probation. You know, they didn't know what to do. They drugged me around the house. This is all stuff they told me after the fact because I was purple and dying. There was an off-duty Henrico County police officer that had one of the radios. He came and gave me CPR until they came and shot me with Narcan, which is the revival drug for opiates. So that story, that was God in my life. I truly believe, you know, that I could be dead right now. But, you know, through that's when my family, like when you're 17 and you overdose, they got to call your parents. It's not like I'm 18, you know. So they showed up at the hospital. It was a mess. It was an emotional roller coaster. And, you know, when I went home, I went to this doctor. I got shots in my butt every day to detox me off of the opiates. And then I went to my first Narcotics Anonymous 12-step meeting when I was 17. I went to a couple, but everyone was like 100 years old compared to my 17-year-old self that thought I knew everything and thought I was, you know, running the world. You know, teenagers even to this day think they know everything. I got one at home now. But, you know, then have an addiction attached to that, you know, and a drug of your choice that you absolutely love, you know, is a tough pill for my family to swallow. My daddy didn't understand like what addiction really was. He thought like it was a moral, you know, failure, and it was like, take this magical pill, make it all go away. How can you just not stop using? So I stayed in recovery. Well, it wasn't really recovery. I didn't use drugs for about a month maybe. I didn't use opiates, because I still always smoked weed. And so I just didn't give myself a chance what recovery is, you know, being 17. It wasn't my time yet. So through that process, I can sit here all day. I could do a movie. I was sharing this morning at Synapse, like I really should do a movie about myself, and then I could be a millionaire and help even more people. But, you know, I think all those years of using, like I couldn't stop. Like what heroin did to me was I fell in love with it immediately. It took away all of my feelings. Like I didn't have to feel. I didn't have to be human. I didn't have to, you know, cope with whatever was happening at my house. You know, I didn't have to, you know, really function. Like once you, when opiates attack your body, you become a completely different human, like 100% completely different. And I tried, God knows I tried. My family did everything. I did Jesus, so I joined a church and got baptized, but I was still using. Like I've had 6 of these opiate blocker implants. I've had 12-step. I've had psychiatry and therapist. I've had every form, methadone. I've had every form of so-called treatment for opiate addiction. And through this process, when I was 19, I met a boy. I had lots of boys throughout all the years, to be honest with you. But, you know, I thought I was in love, and I ended up getting pregnant when I was 20. And I thought this was it. Like, I really thought, like, God doesn't make babies for people like me, because I was actively using and on a methadone clinic when I found out I was pregnant with my daughter. And I was like, so when you're on methadone and you're pregnant, you're supposed to stay on the methadone your whole pregnancy because it's very harmful for the baby and the fetus to detox inside your belly. So they mandate you to methadone. Well, I was like hard-headed, and I was 21, and I was, you know, I'm not going to put drugs in my baby's body. Like, I'm going to quit the methadone. So within weeks, I was on heroin again. But I didn't understand. So this is when, like, my relationship with God kind of got conflicted, because I didn't get, like, you know, these babies don't come from the stork. They come from God. It was what I believe. And Like, I didn't get why he gave me a baby and I couldn't stop using drugs. I mean, I'm jumping out of windows, 9 months pregnant. I'm doing whatever I had to do to get opiates. You know, the thing with that is once you use, like, the baby takes the opiates, so you get withdrawal even quicker. And it sounds sick and twisted, but this was my life for my whole pregnancy. And I had her. She was born addicted to heroin, so that's when CPS got involved. And to be honest, I don't know why the hell they gave me her back. They came and saw our house, and which we were living with my baby daddy's stepdad. His mom overdosed and died 3 days before my daughter was born, and they mandated me to methadone. So I went to this methadone clinic, and I'm not knocking it, but then I could get all kinds of drugs in the parking lot. I just didn't do opiates. Well, that's kind of an opiate, but I didn't do heroin. And you saw a counselor like once a week, so they let me keep my kid. I was not a mother to her whatsoever. I didn't know how to be. Had no idea, like, the unconditional love. Like, I changed diapers and fed her and stuff, but we weren't taught about feelings when we were kids. Like, we didn't, my parents didn't sit down with me and like explain what anger, and like when we got angry, like, we just didn't do that stuff as kids. So I didn't know like how to teach this kid about feelings, because I didn't have, that growing up. And, through all of that, I ended up relapsing as soon as I finished I completed and graduated the methadone program, and then I started using heroin again. Her father was still using it, and I found it on my floor in my house, and I picked it up and I used it within an hour. I was back, full blown, back to square one, heroin addiction again. Yeah. Gosh, just thinking about it, all this is it was a freaking mess. It was a mess. I mean, raising this child, I lived with my mom, but that was dysfunctional in itself. And like, this poor kid, like, is raised by 2 heroin addicts right now, and so after the stealing and robbing and doing the stuff that we do to our families, like, for me, nothing got in my way for me to go get dope. Like, nothing. And dope is heroin. If, you never know, dope could be weed, but a heroin, nothing got in my way. I was, again, jumping out windows at 9 months pregnant. I was robbing people. I was stealing from my family. I was stealing from stores. I was doing all kinds of felonies, lots of felonies, and, just doing whatever I had to do to get $20, $15 to get dope, because you have to use it. So when you use heroin, you have to, well, for me, I know I had to use it all day long. I couldn't just get up in the morning and shoot dope or sniff it or whatever. I had to, it's like a process throughout the whole day. And it's a full-time job, because you have to figure out who you're going to steal from or panhandle on the side of the road or whatever. It's not just, I'm going to use, like at a party, I'm not just going to use and, get effed up and then like go home and fall asleep. That's not heroin addiction. It is 24/7. You got to make sure you're not going through withdrawal. So we do whatever we have to do. And so my family finally, they found out again I was using. They shipped me away. They did a rapid detox, which was like $4,000 detox in this area. I don't know how much it is now, probably way more with the epidemic, but I didn't do it correctly. I still had the baby daddy sneaking me heroin, so my brain kind of, shut down. So the 4th day you come in, they shoot you up with the Narcan to clean your whole system, make sure no opiates were in my system, because I was hoarding the pills that they gave me, and then it was just a mess. I definitely did it 100% wrong. And I was a zombie, and they took me to Winchester to a place called Edge Hill. My parents just dropped me off. They left me. They paid something and said, y'all got to deal with this chick. We can't do it anymore. I mean, I put them through hell.
Sounds like they stood by you for quite a while.
They did. They did. Financially, emotionally. I mean, I couldn't. I mean, now that I'm a parent in recovery, like that phone call that they got, their 17-year-old daughter may or may not make it. Like, and I deal with it every day with the people and the participants and the families at McShin. It's devastating. It's a hard thing to go through. Like, I can see it now, and the stuff I put them through. And so I got shipped away to treatment. It was a 28-day program. I broke up with my daughter's father over the payphone at the treatment center. We were together for 6 long, exhausting, freaking, oh my gosh, just long years. I mean, it's great. We got a beautiful daughter out of it, but we were horrible humans. I mean, it was just a mess. It was a mess. That's some other Jerry Springer stuff there, but So I left him. I kind of woke up, took a shower because, again, I was a zombie for a few days, and I fell in love with another boy immediately. He was playing basketball. I'll never forget that. It was the first time ever in 13 years I'd been drug-free. I was on detox meds, but drug-free ever since I was 12, like completely with no type of substance in my body. And, I kind of woke up a little there. It was just 28 days, and they gave me a piece of paper and shipped me back home to Richmond and said, go to 12-step meetings. So I had my car, my job, my kid, and my apartment all waiting for me the day I got out, which is not good for me because everyone kind of catered to all of my stuff. While I was gone, there was really no consequence, I guess, during that at all. It was just like, okay, here's your life back. Figure it. Here, you're a mom now. And 28 days for me, I don't feel like is enough time for anyone.
And you've been through that a number of times already.
The 28-day program? No, that was the only 28-day program I ever went to.
That was the longest.
Yeah, I've been to therapy and 12-step and medication-assisted type stuff, but I've never been locked away or sent away anywhere but that one place. So when I came back, I was going to 12-step meetings, and then the boy that I met, he was from West Virginia and had 38 felonies over his head, a winner. That's what we do. We have great pickers in early recovery. I'm in love. 38, great, you're it. You're my future husband, which he now is my husband. But so that worked out. But
he beat the rap apparently.
Yeah, totally.
All 38.
He did. Well, his mama. So he stole checks from his mom. So every check had a certain amount of felonies because of the dollar amount, and she was trying to save his life. So that's how. But he went through the program and did well and moved to Richmond. My 12-step sponsor told me it wasn't a good idea. I was 2 months into recovery, and of course, I got 2 months in recovery. I'm not going to listen. And he moved here. So we ended up relapsing for about a year, and that was the worst year of my whole addiction career. The stuff that we did, and the stuff he doesn't even know I did, that's between me and God and my sponsor. And just the things that the danger we put Destiny, my daughter, in was insanity. The disease of addiction equals insanity. The stuff that you do on a day-to-day basis, and specifically as a woman, because you can do way more to get money and to lie. And people give money to women before they do men. I'd panhandled, I did all of that stuff, and he'd make me, because I would get more money, which is fine. And it just the lies and just not showering, just so much stuff that you don't realize what addiction does besides the glorified crap that's on TV, and it ain't nothing glory at all about being, in active addiction with heroin. There's no fun. There's no, what you do is you shoot up and you nod out and you burn yourself with cigarettes. You don't eat. There's so much, it's just so much, but it takes over your whole soul, not just your mind. It takes over your soul. It changed me to something that I never thought I would be. In the things that I did to hurt not even just my family but to strangers, the things the crimes that I committed just to complete strangers, and specifically the main stuff is my daughter. All the stuff I did to her, I wouldn't play with her because I was dope sick. I would lock myself in bathrooms till I could hit a vein. I stole all of her stuff. I pawned everything. Holidays, shoot, every gift card she got I took to the dope man because they give you half price for gift cards, well, half drugs, so it was half price value. And just the stuff I did to her was insane, and I'm open about it. It took me a minute in early recovery to talk about it, but so fast forward, I found the McShin Foundation. So after 9 years of my 14 years of using, the last 9 were opiates and heroin. And my stepmom knows John Shinholzer, the co-founder and president of McShin, and, I met him. I don't remember the first time because I was high. I don't remember the first time meeting him, but I went into Hatcher Church, where we're located, where our recovery center is, and I left for a few days because I just kind of wanted to please them. And I am a big, huge baby when it comes to heroin withdrawal, which means it's like the flu times 10, and you might have seen that with your brother, but it's rough. It's death, and I refused.
I didn't know it at the time, though.
Yeah, you just thought he had the
God,
flu.
Sick again?
Oh gosh. Oh yeah, you're sick every day because you once it leaves your body and your system, if you don't have it immediately, you go through withdrawal, which is hot, cold, shakes, and lots of other bodily functions that are just R-rated around here. But so McShin, I left for a few days, and then John, I'll never forget, I called him one day. He was at a peg roast that we used to do, and he's like, he's a Marine, and he's got a list, and he's like, sure, you come on back whenever, and that's his voice, and I was like, man, this dude, I was like, I just want, my family were done with me. They were done with the, my car's broke, I need $20 more. They were done with, like, all the, just years of lies, and my name is Honesty. Oh my gosh, I lied over half of my life. Like, every day was a lie. Like, I lied about and then it was just a mess. But McShin, I went to McShin, and I stayed there one night. I ended up shooting dope in the bathroom in the girl's house because I just still wasn't ready, and I didn't have that detox medication. So I still was not willing to listen to whatever this recovery path organization was, because I'm dope sick. So all I'm thinking about is how to get high. And I left for about a night, and I came back, and then the boy from rehab came back, and then I ran down the road. He could get $30 one last time from his aunt, and we left for about 4 days, and John let me come back, and that's, real quick, another God story. So this medication you use is called Suboxone, Subutex. It's for the withdrawals. So I was in this doctor. It was a Sunday. It was May 27, 2007. That was my recovery date. I was in this doctor's office on a Sunday. It was like $100. That was it. All I had to pay and for the medication. And I was in his office, and when he wasn't looking, I took the medicine out of my mouth because I was still the insanity. I was ready, but I really wasn't ready. My plan was to take that medicine, and me and him were going to get into recovery together and share the medicine and both detox at home where we can get drugs. So just our thinking, we don't think rationally. And I took it out of my mouth, and it was melting in my hand, and he was a little foreign guy and was like, okay, we're going to stay here for 4 more hours. I said, 4 more hours? I looked down at my hand, and I just looked up at God. I was like, and I looked at my hand again, and I just said, F it. And I stuck it in my mouth, and I haven't used drugs since that day. So that little guy saved me, because I don't know where I would be if I would have went home with that medication. John took me in the next day with nothing. I had a couple bags of clothes and some photo albums. My mom had my daughter. And I started my recovery journey. My plan was to detox, to take that medicine, take a shower, sleep in a bed, and eat. Like, that was my plan, because we weren't eating anything. I haven't touched a zebra cake in my whole recovery, because that's what I lived off of. I'm traumatized from zebra cakes. I will never, ever eat another one. Those big 25-cent ones that you get at the the little hood market.
Little Debbie.
Yeah, man. Because we spent every penny on dope, and then we'd have change left over to go get, those Little Debbie 25-cent cakes and maybe a McChicken. Because when I cleaned out my apartment, when I went, my daddy was like, you're only getting a couple bags of clothes, because we didn't have anything. We got evicted. We just left our door open and was selling furniture for $20, like all of this stuff. And we looked in the cabinets, and it was this hot cocoa mix. I'll never forget that. That's it out of food. So... And I didn't have my daughter anyway. I left her at my mom's because I couldn't feed her, let alone provide for her as a mom. And so anyway, living in McShin, I was living with women just like me, just trying to get their life together. And my plan.
Did you have a goal at that point?
Hell no. I didn't want to be dope
sick. Not like
sick.
A life goal, but you're in there. You didn't know what was next.
No, not at all. My goal was to go through the detox, to not withdraw from heroin. That was my goal, period. My goal was... just learn how to live without getting up. I had to get up and do dope just to go to the bathroom. Like, you have to physically have it, because your whole central nervous system gets attacked if you don't have it. So no goals whatsoever. I had a Jeep on a car title loan. I had to hide behind the recovery house every night because them dudes were trying to hunt me down. I didn't have anything. I didn't have nothing at all. I had my driver's license. So in early recovery, a lot of people don't have that. So that was a plus. So I could drive people around. And staffing, it was just John and a couple other men that worked there. So no women staff. I cried a lot. I kicked and screamed. It's a structured environment. I didn't like rules. I rebelled. But weeks turned to months, and I ended up living there for 5 months. The executive director, Daniel Payne, took a chance on me and hired me for it was a small business. Now he's big, Widespread Solutions. And he took a chance on me. I was nannying for his son, even though I couldn't, take care of my own kid. John and him taught me how to paint houses, so now I know how to paint houses if I ever need to. And we just, they just taught me all kinds of skills that's what recovery's about, just teaching you. And the day I moved out, I got my daughter back from my mom, and my sister let me move in with her, and I just paid her rent or whatever. And I started working at McShin at 5 months in recovery. So first kind of woman staff, and just trying to help the women that were still left in the program and do administrative. John was typing like this, so I could type and and I was kind of organized and stuff by then but I was in debt out of my butt. I was about 40 grand in debt. I came into recovery. McShin, I didn't make barely anything when I started working there. We were tiny. We had, 12 beds, so 2 houses, 3 houses back then, and no staff, obviously, and that's grown significantly. So since May 27, 2007, I've had no reason to use drugs or alcohol, and have a pretty awesome life. I don't know where you want me to go after that.
Kind of into McShin, so
right.
And where how big McShin was when it started, and
sure.
where it is today, because
right.
I know it's
huge,
a much larger entity.
Yeah, we're big. It's overwhelming, but it's awesome. So back then it was just starting from scratch. So John Shinholzer is the Shin, and Carol McDade is the McShin. They're a married couple. They have over almost 60 years combined in recovery now. But they were sick of people dying. There was always a waiting list, and there still is, for any type of treatment or recovery services. If you go to your local, service board and ask for, treatment, it's very rare that they're same day. So they talked about it, and they opened McShin and used some of their personal money to start the nonprofit. And from there, it was 2 recovery houses, and we had 3 offices in the basement of Hatcher Memorial Baptist Church when I started there. And we just, blood, sweat, and tears. We have crawled and climbed a mountain barefooted and no gloves, building to where McShin is. It was tough. Me being in early recovery, I don't know what the hell I'm doing with life, let alone trying to build this organization with him.
You probably don't have any life skills. You've spent since your early teen years being, addicted.
Yeah, I didn't pay bills. I didn't know how to do. That's why I had so much debt. I didn't know a lot of life regular, normal people did at my age. I was 26 when I came to McShin, and I didn't know much. But, I had jobs here and there, but nothing I kept, because I would go through withdrawal and lie and steal and all kinds of stuff. But so we built that. We got a board of directors that's awesome, and that's changed and evolved through the years. And then the relationship with Hatcher, which is our partners, there as far as the space, we've built. So now we have 15,000 square feet. We have the whole west wing, so all 3 floors of the west wing of Hatcher Church is our recovery center now. And we have 182 beds now.
Wow.
So, yeah, we have a lot of beds. We had a ton of staff. It was me and John and a couple staff for years. It was tough. It was rough. I don't even know how I even made it, to be honest with you. It is hard working in a nonprofit. And then the stigmatization on addiction. We had to fight a lot of battles for years to now it's all wide open, and it's great, and not that addiction's great, but the community sees it, now, and it took us years of beating down doors and policy. So we do a lot of advocacy in DC and the General Assembly to get bills and laws passed. We have jail programs as well, recovery programs inside the jails.
And John's wife is in DC as a lobbyist.
She's a lobbyist, right? For addiction solutions, correct. So she's the hardest working woman I've ever met in my entire life. She lives and breathes this stuff. But so yeah, we've grown significantly, and our staff, we have about 15 now staff, and we started out with 3.
And the interesting thing about your staff is they're all
in recovery.
All in recovery themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nobody from the outside. It's people that have come through the program,
right.
and now they work there, which is amazing.
Right. Most of them have lived, but some of them have longer recovery time than me and just work there. But yeah, everyone's in recovery except for one. So our director developed for John's daughter, not John Shinholzer, but from Synapse. She was our summer intern, and she came that December and asked me for a job. She's not an addict or alcoholic, but she's addicted to us. Like, she loves helping people with the disease of addiction. So, yeah.
So talk about some of the programs, or I guess the processes of, actual recovery and then post-recovery. And I'm probably saying that right because it's one big thing. But
right.
But when you're, ready to start taking on life skills and the things you guys do to help people with jobs and stuff like that. Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So McShin has a different, a payer mix and different programs at McShin. So since we are a nonprofit and, a lot of society wants to give to dogs and kids, we're not dogs or kids. So we had to develop a program for those beds. So to pay for those beds, the individual, they can come in and get same-day detox. We have linkage. We don't have a doctor, but we have a van, so we take them that same day. When an individual with an addiction problem asks for help, you have to help them that day, period. So we have linkage to that, to therapists, psychiatrists, all of that, but they immediately get recovery housing, they immediately get us, the recovery coaches, and they immediately get our family program. So not everyone's ready. I wasn't ready. I just wanted to take a shower, and I wanted my damn medicine to withdraw. Like, I was done, but I didn't know if I was really done. So we get all walks of life at McShin. I say princess to prostitute all day long. All day long. We've had celebrities, we've had, senators' sons, like whatever. We've had, we don't discriminate there. We take anyone because the disease doesn't discriminate. So the recovery process for each individual is each individual's recovery process. There's no one fix. Like, some people go towards faith-based, some do 12 steps, some do just abstinence. They don't do anything. They're just drug and alcohol free. So we meet them. So our intake coordinator meets them where they're at, like interviews them. They come in, they talk to the families, and then we develop a program for each individual. But our program at McShin during the day, so 8:30 to 5, they do recovery-related, relapse prevention, recovery yoga, recovery acupuncture, 12-step and faith-based, smart recovery. They have all different options throughout the day. So staff run their groups, volunteers run the groups, and our alumni run the groups. So it's a peer-to-peer, authentic organization. So we keep it real, as you've seen some. Like, we keep it real there because this is life or death. I've been to a ton of funerals and memorials. We've had a ton of memorials at McShin for the families that can't afford services. And, I can't determine if someone walks in, like, if they're going to make it or not. That's not my thing, but it's about a 98% relapse rate, the disease of addiction. But it's
wow.
Yeah, this is national statistic, but as long as they get some glimpse of something while they're in our care, that's all we want. We want them to live a long, happy life like I have, and hundreds of others that are alumni that have been through McShin. But that's not always the case. Some people just, don't get it the first, second, third. I mean, y'all heard me. I've tried a ton of different things. Just that peer-to-peer living in the house worked for me, and changed who I am and my whole entire life.
Okay, cool.
Is that a unique feature of McShin, the recovery house? Because people may not realize that McShin Foundation runs these houses where addicts can go live together. Mm-hmm. A lot of them work for John doing the painting stuff. Is that unique to McShin, that they actually build self-worth, which helps fight addiction?
Yeah, he doesn't really do the painting. Daniel's got that whole company, but he does hire people. My husband just started his company, so he helps out the McShin guys. But it's more of, so McShin, like, John hired me with practically nothing, which was fine. But like we developed little roles to give them a sense of purpose. Like if they can't pay their, we call it bed fee, then we teach them how to, I just find extra duties for them to do, whether it's someone helping me extra with filing, whether it's cleaning, deep cleaning the building, whether it's painting, whether it's whatever. We really try to help them, you know, have the purpose of like having a roof over their head. So we do that Job Corps stuff every day pretty much.
So Caritas does kind of the same thing for their healing place.
Yeah.
Where you go in and it's kind of a last stop, you know, this is your last chance, but it's all, you know, a big room of bunk beds, and they do total abstinence, which is a little different than McShin.
Right. We do MAT at McShin, which is medically assisted treatment. Yeah. So some people are on medication at our in our houses.
So talk a little bit about what makes for a successful recovery. So somebody that's come through a terrible addiction like you's tried multiple times, and you working with people that have tried and failed. And so let's talk about both sides. What are the common keys to success of somebody coming out of recovery, and then what are the pitfalls that people experience and that lead them back into relapse?
Sure. So success is, man, you got to want it just as much as you wanted your drugs. Like so for me, I mean, now y'all heard, I chased drugs all day long. Chased either money or drugs literally all day long. I never slept much. When I was nodding out with those cigarettes. So you have to want some form, even if you don't know what the hell you're doing, you have to listen to people that do. Like, you know, I didn't like John so much. He's a Marine. You know, I'm this little girl, and I didn't.
Hippie chick.
Yeah, man. Yeah, this little hippie chick coming in here, and he is like, you are. Anyway, so, but he was right, you know, and he taught me, you know, a lot of skills that I had no idea that I had, you know, and that's what we do. That's kind of the magic that happens at McShin is like, it's a whole nother world. Like I got chicks all the time, like fighting us, and then they come and sit with me, and I tell them like my daughter was born addicted too, and they see how, because you're so sheltered and secretive when you come into recovery, you don't want to tell, you know, all the stuff that you did and all that. But when I'm sitting here like just telling y'all and talking to them, that's like when that magic happens, where it's like, wow, now look at her, and they see my walls and my colorful office and my life. My office is very eccentric. It's my life. Like literally on those four walls, and you know, it's just something different. Like I think the main focus is to succeed in recovery, you got to change everything about yourself, because for so long you are not like a human. Like you do things that you never, all your morals go out the window and standards and all of that. You have to change everything. I had to change everything about myself. It took a minute. I mean, it didn't happen just because I lived in McShin. It was like a magical unicorn.
Right.
I mean, it's all a process. The main pitfalls is this thinking you know everything and that we're dumb or whatever, which we're not, or going back to those people, places, and things. So going back to Sally on the corner, I just want to see what she's doing. You know, she's still selling crack. You know, that's what she's doing.
Right.
You know, so, and then just going around those places that you used to use. Like, I avoided all of that stuff. I didn't even finish my story. So I left the boy that I met in the treatment center when I came to McShin. John let me come, but then he went to this recovery apartment. So we broke up for about 4 months and then got back together. Ultimately, after a year in recovery of me living with my sister and him living in that program, we got our own place. We got pregnant, had my son, we got married. Now we're awesome. We've been together, I don't even know, 13 years now or something. And own our own home. He just started his own business. You know, so life is awesome. So we're that 1%, we call it rehab romance, that actually succeed. We've definitely had our struggles in our marriage because of, you know, two people in recovery. You're trying to like work their program. Like, what? You need to go to a meeting, you know, so that don't work out so well. But, so the pitfalls is mainly that, and relationships is number one. Like mine is successful now, but we did ended up using for like that year, and we could have both been probably in jail the rest of our lives for the felonies that we did, and if not dead from overdosing. So what I see on a day-to-day is those relationships, like God, you know, sexual relationships. It's just you lose focus of what your goal is. Like, you're always worried about, what he or she is doing, and then one of them uses, and then, I'm cured and I can use too. So those are the main things, just hanging out with the people you used to use with, and relationships, really. And then just like depression and not knowing how to deal with your feelings. Like, recovery is way more than just taking away the drugs and alcohol. It's teaching you how to feel. It's teaching you how to pay bills. So it's a never-ending cycle. Like, I still go to meetings. I still have, people that I mentor in the 12-step fellowship I am. I still do all of that almost 12 years later. Like, because I know that that's what keeps me in recovery and helping people. I mean, obviously. So, yeah, those are the main things that definitely take you back out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So when we met before, you spoke a little bit about addictive personalities, and as well as how opiates can change people into those addictive type personalities, if I remember correct. And the question after that is about the opioid epidemic, and I don't know if you want to tie those two together, but I hear opioid epidemic, you hear it on the news, it's such a cliche, but from the ground, with boots on the ground, what does that look like?
Right. So that means nationally, the number just went up. 192 people die a day from opiates right now in our country. 192 people a day. That's like a huge plane dropping, like every 2 hours or something of people dying. So the opioid epidemic is here. Unfortunately, I think it's here to stay for a little bit longer. The system, Trump even has, tons of dollars funneling down, coming specifically for opioid prevention and treatment and recovery, actually support services. Hallelujah. We're actually going to get some money, maybe, if they give it to McShin or not, because it goes to the state agencies and they get to pick who it goes to. So hopefully we will get that. But you see it in the news. You see it on TV now even more, not just the celebrity rehab bull crap, an intervention, and I'm not putting stories out there. We definitely do our part. We're nationally known and been on Face the Nation and done a bunch of stuff, but the epidemic is here, and it's not even heroin anymore that we're seeing. It's straight fentanyl. So fentanyl is coming through everywhere, all over the country, and people are thinking they're doing heroin and it's fentanyl, and they're dying immediately. Fentanyl's like quadruple, the effects of dirty old, heroin.
The strength is ridiculous.
Hell yeah,
Just like a couple, they're beads,
just
right?
Just a little bit, yeah. Well, it's still powder. You can smoke it or whatever too, but it's powder, and it's they're actually taking, it's just, our world is crazy. But they're taking pills, and instead of looking like Oxys or Percocet, it's fentanyl pills, and they're stamping them with that, so people are taking them. It's insane, man. And a lot of it's coming from the Mexico, a lot of all that. But they're getting tricky. We're seeing a little bit bigger on meth right now, because I think of just the past 4 years of this opioid epidemic, that they're cracking more down on, funneling into our country, and we're seeing more and more meth, because it's harder, in different areas nationwide. So that's coming back, methamphetamine, crystal meth and stuff. But because you can make that in your house if you knew, kind of what you were doing. That's one drug out of every drug I've never done. Not that I know of. I don't know, man. There's been plenty of times I did whatever was in front of me, but. So the epidemic's here, people are dying every day. I think it's been an epidemic for years, but there's a lot of young white kids are dying. So now it's more of, a bigger epidemic, and, and there's so many more people speaking out, not just us in recovery, but the family members. There's a huge family impact across the country, in coalitions and organizations, and we have one at McShin of the family that have lost their kids, that have lost their 20-year-old, 18, 17, whatever year old. Like, a whole generation has been wiped out. It's not the 50, 60, 70-year-old people that are dying, like the older. It is young Americans that are dying. Literally a whole generation is getting wiped out as I speak right now. And it's not all, so when you think of opioid epidemic and drug addict, and I don't even use that word much, but you think of somebody shooting dope, in the alley, homeless bum or prostitute or whatever. These are middle class, some upper, that are getting addicted to pain pills. So they're getting their wisdom teeth pulled. They're getting their knee broken in football. They're getting these Oxys. They ain't getting Tylenol 3s. Some of these doctors are just giving you 60 Oxys. And I get, worked up and pissed off about this, but and they're getting addicted, and then the doctors cut them off, then they go find heroin because it's cheaper and easier to find, you know. So it's like a lot of the kids, I call them kids, early 20s, that are getting addicted and coming through McShin, and a lot of their story is the same. It's just getting it. Pharmaceutical companies, they're getting hammered by us and recovery movement organizations because they owe us.
Well, aren't opioids, pain relievers, all that considered value units? And the medical system, when they bill,
right?
When you come in, they need to be able to charge you for something.
Yeah.
And we don't have programs here like they have in, say, Switzerland, where they manage addiction by administering these substances under medical supervision,
right?
To try to eliminate the overdoses. They're still on their substance, but they can at least have a chance of slowly weaning them off in a medical environment. Is that?
Yeah, so there's some laws that have been passed the past couple years. So for the prescription monitoring program, the PMP, so now like if you're supposed to, the doctors are supposed to look in this program and see if the end of the patient has already been seeking opiates from other doctors in the area. So I don't know. I don't regulate it, and that's above my pay grade, but I'm assuming they're doing that. And it was really cool. So I went to my daughter's getting all 4 of her wisdom teeth. So, I'm got addiction, her stepfather's got addiction, and her biological father. So, we're prepared for that. But I think the dentist, and I'm open everywhere I go, he's like, so we got to give her, I was like, look, I'm recovery from opiate addiction, like I know all about. You don't have to like explain to me. But he gave me a little sheet of paper they're handing out down saying instead of opiates, you can do Tylenol and Advil, I think it said, concoction, however many hours, we're trying to cut back on our opiate prescription. So I see that it's changing. It's just so much damage done already that it's going to take years to fix all of that,
Do those lower strength drugs work on something when you've had a tooth extracted or a bone broken? Does it work for you? As opposed to an opiate,
I've had a tooth pulled in recovery and just used Advil instead of opiates, and it is what it is. You gotta try.
Yeah, and it ties back into the question about addictive personalities. Whether you're, I know when I had my shoulder worked on, I was on Tylenol 3s or whatever they gave me, and it just by the second or third day I was just cut me back to Advil. I'll suck it up because I just got tired of feeling that way. But I know that doesn't work the same for everybody. They're like, hell yeah, right. I need these, and then I'm going to need a refill as well.
Yeah, so for me, since I have those opiate receptors in my brain, so when I do opiates, like everything goes off. It's like these just these alarms, like woo, yeah, and like freaking out. So individuals just like me, like we seek that stuff, and I've seeked it and faked injuries, and I've been in and out of ERs and active addiction, not in recovery, but and it's just something. Yeah, those addictive receptors, and not everyone that's gonna break their leg and get on pain pills is going to be, addicted to pain pills. Not everyone that drinks alcohol and goes out on weekends is going to be an alcoholic. I know I can't drink alcohol because I've tried the just alcohol diet or recovery, if you may, and I shoot dope. I go right to heroin. It don't work for me because my brain, so much history, knows that I'm in love with heroin. So it knows like these other drugs, no matter if I just took bong hits every day, like eventually I would do dope again. Because that's just my drug of choice, and that's what I love,
Not to replace it with anything, but are there things you turn to, like exercise, meditation, things like that?
Yeah, I run, I work out, I love cycling, my cycle class. I do a lot of meditations, I do a lot of spiritual work. Helping others takes me out of my brain a lot, staying busy. I like being productive. I don't do well. My brain, you said something early, squirrel. Mine's white rabbit. Like, I'm surprised I haven't, like, what do I got to do later but this is cool. I feel super comfortable. But, there's so many different forms of recovery too now these days. There's just it used to be just old school AA and NA, but there's so many different. There's spiritual recovery. There's acupuncture. There's just stuff that that goes on in society now. So I do a lot of that stuff. I love exercising and working out. That's my thing. And being a mom, being present. Holidays are Christmas is my favorite time of the year. I'm one of those. I've been listening to music since October. I know, whatever. I am.
You're one of those people.
I'm one of those, but I enjoy it for two reasons. A, Christmas music makes you happy. Like, I mean, I'm going to speak for me. Like, something about it puts me in a great mood. So if I'm in a bad mood, I could just pop into something, maybe not Mr. Grinch, but like pop into something uppity.
Little Bing Crosby.
Yeah, I love him. And Nat King Cole. I got free Sirius on my new car for a year. So I have 2 Christmas stations on there. So it's so great. And that's been on since like the beginning of November. But anyway, we're at Christmas. But I value holidays. You'll have no every holiday. I mean, from 12 to 26, that's 14 years of showing up high, not showing up, stealing from your aunt's purse that's in the purse room at Christmas while everyone's open presents or whatever. Like that was my life for a long time, and I value holidays, specifically this time of year, because I remember them. I remember everything, and B, I don't have to steal my kids' gift cards, and I don't have to pawn their stuff, and I get to buy them things and be Santa, and Santa's real. Oh.
Well, it's when you go into a store and they're pumping it to sell stuff.
Yeah.
It's a little different than
I'm jamming. I'm on the
you're
camera.
actually enjoying it.
Yeah. I love it. I do cookies and candies for all the houses, and me and my son started last year making cupcakes for the homeless. So the areas that I drive to get to McShin, there's always people on the corners, and it's cute because he's 9. He's never had to see me use. He's been raised in recovery too, like Destiny. But I hand him a cupcake and he hands him $1. So he's in the seat behind me. So it's just something that I can show him, and they give back to McShin all that they see, like. Talking about prevention, and I don't know if that's one of your topics, but really quick, since me and my husband are both in recovery, and so we have like new people in recovery at our home a lot, and my husband smokes meat, not drugs. We were talking about that earlier, so he teaches people how to smoke meat and barbecue and stuff, and our kids they hear some F-bombs. Well, that's is what it is, but they see hugs and love and the realness of addiction. So my daughter's 16. She's been to funerals. Like, she knows, like, what drugs. Will she ever not use? I don't know. I'm not God. I don't have a genie, to rub on and predict the future. But she knows what recovery is. Like, they know, like, what recovery is, and that mommy saves lives every day. Like, they have no question. So they don't, like, complain much. They're pretty cool. She's a pretty cool teenager, to be honest with you, for the most part. I mean, she's a teenager.
She's come through a lot, too.
She has. And her biological father, she doesn't speak. She hasn't seen or talked to him maybe twice in, gosh, I don't know, 10 years maybe. He's in and out. I think he's back in jail and prison. But Adam's been her dad since she was 5, since we got together.
It's a good young age.
Yeah.
For that kind of transition.
Yeah. So they're close, and we're just and we got 2 dogs, and I got a new dog this year, so she's my new baby, because my husband got snipped. We ain't having no more real babies. Man, they're expensive, and it's a lot, to be a parent, be in active recovery, run a company. Now I have this other company, Care Talks, and it's a lot, So why not add a new puppy? Woo! It's just, you just don't stop, man.
All right, cool. I kind of want to shift gears and get into a little bit of business.
Okay.
So let's talk about the business side of McShin. You guys have really scaled. Scaling is a topic that always really interests me. So talk about, you've been there 11 years. Talk about how you guys have successfully scaled. What have been the factors to you scaling successfully, and what, alternatively, what have been the downside things that have taken away from scaling, failures?
Sure. So we've had some of those. So again, from a few recovery houses to where we are now, it is funding, trying to find new ways to fund, keeping up with the treatment, I guess, society, across nationally, like what's going on nationally. Like our program's so awesome because we do keep it real. Like, we handhold if we have to, and we don't sugarcoat when we have to. We have so many daggone personalities that come to our organization. So some of the things is reducing that negative outlook on addiction publicly. Like, it took years for us to get TV articles and newspaper articles, and now we have that whole hallway on the second floor is covered in them. So reducing that negative outlook on addiction, that it can happen in your home and that it can happen in your backyard, in your schools, and all of that is been a big success. Orga's learning curve and building a staff, building a staff, man, like that is I almost lost my I neglected my husband and my kids for a long time trying to help build McShin. Like, it becomes not necessarily, I didn't even know I was trying to help build McShin. I was just trying to sustain McShin and make sure it, stayed whole and level, and you work lots of hours. It's not no 9-to-5 job whatsoever. And I think the best part of our growth is hiring new staff and getting funding for those staff and stuff like that, because I was running the females administrative. It was a mess for a few years in events and all of that. Now I have specific staff that I got a director of males, a director of females. They have assistants. I have a director of development. I've got a lot of different staff that we just didn't have for probably the first 5 years I was there. So the past probably about 6 years, we've really developed a great core, amazing staff. We've had some failures trying to save the world, not just, people come to us for solutions. So John is the big traveler, goes all over the nation. He's going to all 50 states to help start jail programs or teach prisons and jails how to start a jail program. So he's got 22 states, I think, left. So he's kind of the jet setter. His daughter's, grown, getting ready to get married. I got kids at home, so I pick and choose kind of what I leave my family for, because I have that choice today. But, so people McShin's a solution. We're one of 9 accredited out of the whole entire country, which means we're a recovery community organization. It's really hard to get accredited, so we have that accreditation, and we just renewed for 3 more years. But so people are coming nationally, not just Virginia, nationally to get solutions from us, which we try our best. So this past year, we opened 2 new recovery centers in Warrenton and in Hopewell, and we just financially couldn't sustain them. We had to close them. Well, people took them over, so the church took over one, and then another organization. So they didn't get just left. But
why is that? Because the funding dries up.
Hell yeah, you need funding and staff and all
donations or federal funding or
donations. We don't get. We just got a grant this past year to open. Just past 2 months ago to open those 2 new jail programs. So we don't get any other funding besides we just got that grant. As far as state and federal, we get some from the CSB now in Chesterfield. They're sending us people, which is awesome. But
what's the accrediting body?
It is called CAPRIS. No, it's their own accredited body. Our World, which I keep referring to that, the Recovery Addiction World, they have theirs. So it's caprss.org, and it's a lot of standards and stuff you have to abide by. A lot of, call it big bonder. It's like a bonder like this, and it was very stressful the first time. We only got accredited the first year because everything was in me and John's brains. Like, and not a lot of it. A lot was on the computer, but not a lot of it wasn't. So we're like, oh, I'm the only one that knows how to do this one thing. Well, what happens if I win the lottery and I roll out,
or get hit by a bus?
No, we used to say that. We changed that. Because I don't want to die. I'm young. I want to win the lottery, though. But, which I'll probably donate half to McShin anyway. But, yeah, so we've had some failures. We've had some learning lessons that we've had to learn as growing as big as we have. You're dealing with people every single day. You're dealing with human beings. You're not dealing with coming in and typing in numbers or something. It's like you're dealing with families sitting across you begging you to save their kid's life, literally. There's so much. That's why I say blood, sweat, and tears, because I've done all there. There's so many emotions that come to this line of work that you got to have self-care, and I didn't have that for a while, and I teach my staff now. I went to Stanford. I rocked my sweatshirt. I went for 1 week, but it was a hard program, and I accomplished it. I'd never been to college ever, and my first college ever going to is Stanford. I mean, what the hell? Who'd have thought that, living in a recovery house shooting dope in the bathroom and to go to Stanford. But anyway, so I've developed a lot of leadership skills through the Community Foundation, which is a Richmond-based nonprofit that helps nonprofits. And so I went through their ENLP. I'm a graduate from that program this past cohort. So I've had to learn like a lot of like, this is how we've always done it is gone, and this is how we're going to do it and grow, you know, from that. And I have awesome, super cool staff, man. Like, I love coming to work. I just took them on a tacky light tour. Like, we really try to have fun in recovery because our passion is recovery, and that could be our downfall too, is helping people just like we are, because it strains you. Like, it drains the hell out of you.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet it's very taxing. So talk about a little bit how your relationships with Synapse has worked.
Yeah.
We're all members of Synapse. I'm a cheerleader for Synapse. I've had Keith on the show. It's really a unique networking organization here in Richmond and now in Virginia Beach and Charlottesville that ties in business networking with nonprofits. So talk about how Synapse has worked for you, you know, from the nonprofit side, because I've never really been able to ask that.
Sure. So I'll never forget meeting Keith and then him coming to my office and we talk. And it took us a few months to actually get McShin's Hub started. Because every networking thing I've been into in recovery, man, are lame.
Us too.
Like, oh my gosh. And I'm not even like really, I'm there to reduce the stigma of addiction, period. I'm here to be that face and voice and that to show you that we're awesome, we're PTA members, or what all my whole list of crap that's on my resume or whatever you call it, the hats I wear. But when he started it, I was like, all right. I was like, okay. I was like, you know, and I was real with him, you know, like, what does this entail? And did it my time? And, you know, when new things come in my office and it's like time, I'm like immediate panic, like, how the hell am I going to fit this in? So when we finally started, we were small and Chuck was the lead. And I had went to Hanover Habitat because I live in Hanover, and that was my first Synapse meeting to visit. And Chuck was the lead there. Then that closed, so now we're 12. But how it's benefited, man, I've had CO as my intuitive coach. She's freaking awesome. I've had so many relationships built, you know, just from the people that I see, you know, in Synapse, the events that I've attended, you know, and just the people. I mean, I guess the biggest thing is just showing people that come and visit our hub, to reduce that negative outlook on addiction, that was super cool. I mean, they see it today. Most meetings, someone cries. No one cried today. Mikey almost cried, but no one cried today.
It's positive.
Right,
You know,
it's all
it's
positive.
inspirational,
Yeah.
but it's positive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's a real topic. I mean,
It-
it's like,
yeah.
not, obviously it's real, but it's, you know, real hard-hitting stuff.
right. So Synapse has been a huge my personal life and professional life, and then of course McShin. I think it's a super cool networking thing. Like, I look forward to it and meeting new people, and they get to see McShin. We've helped some people, some of their kids,
Wow.
and stuff. Yeah.
That's
and
actually my connection. My brother-in-law, who passed away a couple years ago as a result of addiction, knew Honesty and John Shinholzer. So I met Keith as well, and was actually planning on starting this podcast, this Well and Good podcast, before I ever joined. And then he told me about it, and he said there's, you know, a hub for there's a bunch of different hubs that you can join. And I realized one of them was McShin, and it just aligned perfectly. And, you know, Blair, people don't get in and necessarily, they trade business cards, but most of it is really about the nonprofit. And that's really nice. And to be able to align with McShin and then find out that Honesty knew my brother-in-law and, you know, stuff like that. It's a cool organization, and it helps everybody, and hopefully helps some business members as well.
Well, for me, it's two things. It weeds out the people that are in business just for money. So take away the nonprofit. If I'm in a networking meeting and it's just the cheap suit parade, I do insurance, I do financial this, financial that, it eliminates that type of people because they are not going to survive in that environment. It's more about, again, not the money, but the connections you make, whether that's to benefit the nonprofit or to benefit somebody's business. It's truly about connecting with the people versus just swapping business cards. So, and the fact that it does help nonprofits and people are able to attach themselves to a nonprofit and individually give to each one, I think it just propels each nonprofit that actively participates, as well as the people that support them.
Yeah.
So again, I'm a cheerleader.
Yeah, me too. I mean, totally. I mean, I love it. I think it's Keith and they just started a great thing there, man.
And it's snowballing. So
yeah,
it's awesome. So that's really it for my questions. So I'll open it up to you for any events, shout outs, parting words, whatever you want to drop on us.
Sure. Shout out to you guys. Woo! Shout out. This is awesome. Thank you for the opportunity to come just tell my story and talk about what I love to do and the place that saved my life. What gave me a life that I never dreamed. My life is awesome, man. And it's because of recovery, but it's because I still work it. So you said post recovery, so I wanted to go back real quick. Like, there is no post recovery.
Yeah, I knew that was wrong when I said it.
Yeah, it's all right. I know you looked at me. You're like, wait, should I But recovery has to be, for me, a lifestyle, a whole life change, like it is. And I'm still involved in my personal recovery outside of McShin. So there isn't, and I don't plan on stopping, but you never know. Like, anything could happen. Like, I'm just in today, you know. But a couple things. So we have Santa breakfast on Saturday. We have events for our participants so they can bring their children to. So safe, fun events. A lot of our participants, they're the people, we call them, that live in our housing, don't have custody of their kids. They've, just like me, look until Destiny was 5, the stuff I did, like, you know, and to be able to, like, bring your children to a safe, sober environment and see other people's kids, like, that's how I'm a mom today, is like seeing the women before me with their children, you know. And once I got Destiny back, I was like, oh hell, I can't go to drugs. I could have, but I had no idea. She was peeing in the bed. There was some trauma there, and I slept in the same bed with her in my sister's house, so I was like cleaning up. It was a mess, but now she's good. I don't think she wets the bed, but you know, and another company is Care Talks LLC. So it's Comprehensive Addiction Recovery Empowerment Talks. You guys should come. They're free. John and I kind of started a little side gig with that. So what it is, it's kind of like TEDx, but it's strictly addiction solutions. So Friday night, which is tomorrow, right? Jeez. So tomorrow night at 6 at McShin, 6 to 8, is 8 different speakers. They have 8 minutes to talk about some of their story if they're in recovery or if they've been affected. But what is that solution? So we have 8 different topics of addiction solutions, and so that's called Care Talks at caretalks.net to check out. This is our 5th one, I think now. Our first one was in New York, so we go to other states too and do those as well. So that's coming up. But other than that, just holiday season, you know, just, which is a tough time for new people in recovery. It's a really tough time, and those family members that have lost their loved ones. So we do have a grieving group. If you know of anyone that's lost someone to overdose or about the addiction, it's called Grapple. It's every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock on the 3rd floor of McShin.
Okay.
So they have a holiday tree up right now, a Christmas tree, with pictures of people that have been lost to addiction. So and we keep the door open all day long, so if people want to stop in and remember their loved one and put it on the Christmas tree, they can do that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Jay, any parting words?
Thanks for coming. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing a space and a platform with me.
Yeah, this was awesome, and I hope all the technology works out, and I think it is. So that's it, really. So thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for coming on the show, Honesty. Thanks for hosting us, Jay. I really appreciate it, and everybody have a positive and productive day.